Hi guys, my name is Sam. This is a Samulance. This was $350 on eBay, and we are going to install this in the stealthiest way possible and find out if it actually works or is a waste of money. These Chinese air conditioning units are pretty sweet. They actually come with two main parts. This is the indoor unit, which is the blower motor, has the controller and the vents. It goes inside. And then the outdoor unit has the condenser and the compressor in one unit with the fan on the back. Also comes with remote, drainage hoses, nuts and bolts, and high and low pressure hoses. So pretty much everything you need. So usually with these units, the outdoor unit would mount to the back of your camper. Like this. Pretty gross. When you do that, you kind of have to have all the hoses come out of the bottom. All the power cables, the signal cables also too have to come out, and underneath, around the side, over the top, however you want to do it. Actually pulling everything out of it. The compressor, the condenser and the fan, we're pulling it all out of the box and fitting underneath the ambulance. You won't have to see this big ugly red box on the back. It's a pretty good idea in theory. Will it work? I don't know. But we're going to try. So as far as the indoor unit goes, these usually mount inside the cab here, somewhere. And to me, I don't really have much space. And I just think they're gross. It's ugly, smells weird. It really does smell weird. I don't think I'm going to use any of these controls. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be on and ripping. Full blast. So I'm going to mount this in one of the outside cabinets, and then we're going to use some ducting to duct these vents through into the cab. Once again, great idea, in theory. Will it work? Alright, so the plan is this unit in this cabinet. I'm going to duct the little vents straight through this wall, which will come out under the bench that I was just sitting on, with the bed above, dining room. Sounds like a great idea. Not sure if the remote will work through the aluminium walls. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But before we can start any of the cool stuff, we need to upgrade my battery system. It is not sufficient to run this bad boy. Alright, this is my electrical cabinet. This stuff here is from the ambulance. When it was an ambulance, most of it isn't used. All of this Victron stuff here is the stuff that I've installed. So we currently have two 220 watt solar panels on the roof. They come into an isolator here, into an MPPT charger, which goes into this Lynx distribution block. The distribution block sends power out of these terminals here to my inside indoor fuse panel and my outdoor fuse panel. So the distribution block goes down here through these cables to my 100 amp hour Batterborn battery. One of the coolest batteries you can have. Also one of the most expensive, obviously. And this is the isolation switch to isolate the battery from the rest of the ambulance. So when all these switches are on, this switch and the isolation switch, the solar or the alternator power is coming through the system down these battery cables to my battery and charging it. And vice versa, when there's at nighttime where there's no sun, the power is coming up into the distribution block, powering everything in the ambulance. So with the addition of the air conditioning, we are going to be upgrading my 100 amp hour battery. We're going to be installing 3 of them, so in total I have 300 amp hours. I'll also be relocating these from outside here to inside the vehicle. The Batterborn 100 amp hour heated batteries, pretty sick. One of the sickest batteries you can get. 10-year warranty, made in the USA, and pretty expensive. But I'll be installing these bad boys under this little seat here. Under here, make sure the battery is isolated from the rest of the system, otherwise you're going to get a fright. And definitely make sure your solar is turned off. Otherwise you're going to get a double fright. heated battery terminal. Make sure it's going the right way, otherwise you'll smoke it. Alright, there they are. Let's get everything out of the way so I can drill some holes. You can actually get a better look now of my diesel heater setup. So we're going to be bringing these cables through here, out above there into that underseat cabinet. Alright, I'm going to be drilling a 44mm. If you know what that is, 1 3/4. Alright, seeing as we're doing things properly in 2026, I'm going to be reaming the outside, getting the sharp bits off, and using this protective kind of U-shaped sleeving or something. Don't even know where I got this from. Alright, that's pretty neat. Boom, boom, boom. Alrighty. Right, this is where my cables came through. Let's get the batteries in here and see how they look. Alright. They actually are pretty heavy. Can have a different orientation. They can go like this. Terminals in the front. Or like that. Alright. Oh, we'll do that. Oh, is that weird? I could definitely make that shit. I've got enough space for another one. Let's see if one more. Hey. Without doing. Alright, so before I can connect all these up, each battery has to be 100% fully charged before you can combine them all together. Make sure you don't touch the terminals with your wrenches, otherwise you're going to get fireworks. I will become a welder. Alright, so we'll turn on the battery. You can see there, 0 watts. It does say the battery's at 100%, but I don't believe that. It's been sitting in a box for a couple months now. Turn on the solar. Right, we'll give that an hour or two to synchronize, and then we'll do the other 2 batteries. Alright, so while this battery's charging, I'm going to go and build a quick little battery tray to keep these batteries in order, stop them sliding around. I could strap them down and put some U-bolts to the floor. I'm thinking, because I need to wait a little while for these to charge, or to make sure that they're 100%, I'm just going to make a battery tray. I don't know how it's going to go, but we're just going to wing it, like everything else. Alright, turn it back on. Just made a quick little, I said battery tray, but it's not a battery tray. Here we are with the finished product. I've glued down the little template or grid, space for expansion. Nice and neat with a gap in between them. Looks good to me. So I'm going to be connecting these in parallel for a bunch of reasons, but the main reason, I still want to keep my system 12 volt. And if you keep it in series, different story, it's a different video. There's a lot of reasons why you would do it in series, but for me, keeping the system 12 volt is what I want. I'm going to cut at that point there. Alrighty, here's the kit we'll be using to make our connections in between batteries. So we have 2-gauge cable, 2/0 gauge cable, 2/0 lugs with a 5/16 hole. Heat shrink. This is my crimper. It's like a hammer crimper. It does the job, but a hydraulic one would be better if you wanted to make connections inside the van. So this is what we're going to end up with. So first things first, we're going to make a mark on our installation, how far down we need to take off. Sometimes it can be quite hard to get all the cables inside of the lug. So, a little trick. And slide it all the way up. Then you can get the lug on, like that. Put the lug inside the crimper, like that. Fully crimped. So, just gonna eyeball this bad boy. Other side over here, around there, to there. It's gonna end up. That's pretty neat. It's only one thing that makes it look better. And here is the finished product. We have all the cables friction proofed. I don't know if there'll be much friction, but looks sick. Also wired in all the battery heaters. Bit of marine carpet. It's pretty good to me. Here's a bit of view inside the outdoor unit. You have the condenser and the compressor, mini compressor, and the fan on the back, which blows air through the condenser. We also have a terminal block here with a heat sink. That is where the power comes in, and the controller comes in to control the unit. So, this is what we're going to be pulling out and putting under the truck, minus the red stuff. It snowed last week and it's been sunny for like one day. Everyone's out, everyone's making noise. Right across the street there's been drilling and jackhammering. Hours, dude. I don't think he's doing it right. Okay, there's the fan. Probably voids warranty doing that. Let's test it out. Alright, this here is underneath the ambulance. Tow hitch, water tank. So I'm thinking in between this gap here, we can squeeze the compressor and the condenser. And then this cabinet here will have the indoor unit. Cables can pop out of here, boop, straight up here. I did a quick measurement a couple months ago. Knows how to use a tape measure. Yeah, no rock's gonna hit that. Rightio, so the condenser is mounted now. As you can see, my brackets. It's looking pretty sweet. Some would call it luck, some would call it skill. I need to save some luck, probably. Just gonna label these before I take them out. So, blue, yellow, probably the safest idea. Alright, let's test out this bad boy. Oh, she's heavy. Damn, she's heavier than I thought. Just did a quick Google search for this compressor, and it is a rotary compressor. It does have to be mounted facing upwards, so I'm thinking you might have to put it over here, get a new hose made. That's pretty expensive, but whatever. So I decided to not go with the existing bracket. I thought I would make my own, so I got this 90-degree L bracket, the pre-drilled holes, painted it black. I'm going to make our own brackets out of these. It's going to go like that. Beautiful. Finished brackets for the compressor. Looks pretty good. And there she is. Condenser's in. Got nice brackets up there. Compressor's in. Brackets, stainless bolts, nuts and washers. Just mounted the controller next to the compressor out here so the cables would reach. All these cables here, they go to the inside unit, will come out here, through here, where the inside unit will be mounted. Now, I just have to get a custom low pressure side pipe, tube, whatever, from here over here. I can connect to the condenser. So here I've got one hose that comes out of the compressor. Under here, the slack gets kind of tucked up under the frame here and then runs back through this hole here into that compartment. The other high side hose comes out of here, runs around my water tank, follows the same path through this hole here into the compartment. This is for in between the compressor and the condenser. I had to extend it because we moved the compressor further away from the condenser. New hose goes from top of compressor over to the condenser. I've made an absolute mess out here. There is stuff everywhere. But in this compartment here, this is where the pipes come out. Gonna mount this inside of here somewhere and then start the ductwork. Sick of lying. Look at all these shavings. Lying on these aluminium shavings for so long. Happy to be finished under there. Alright, let's pull these shells out. Just move these little O-rings up a little bit. Let's figure out where this is going to go. this little plate goes on. Like that. One more little torque. That's pretty good. I've got these little rubberized saddles, I guess you'd call it. Just going to put these on to make sure it doesn't hit any of these sharp edges here. Make it look pretty neat. Chuck some drainage hose on. Roughly about there. So we have the indoor unit wired up. High and low pressure lines. These units come with one drain port at the bottom for condensation. I drilled and put in another one just in case I'm parked on the forward slope so it can drain from both directions. Drilled out the bottom of the vehicle. The cables to run the unit underneath the vehicle as well, wired into the controller, which is right here. So the plan to get the air from here inside, I'm thinking something like this. So all these ports go into this 4-inch port, which will be drilled into the cab. And this little piece here will be inside the cab, so you can direct air any way you want. But I will have to build a, I guess, adapter to, or maybe a box, to connect all these into a 4-inch pipe, then through there. Let's try and do that. Alright, so this is what I come up with. Some shapes and some circles and some angles, and let's see if we can turn this into a pretty cool vent, distributor, adapter, something, whatever it's called. Here she's all together. Bit of a taper on this end, 4-inch hole on this end, something like that, with the pipe coming out there. That looks pretty legit, I reckon. That's good. Chucked a little bit of silicone in the corners for air tightness and a bit of rigidity. Let's stick this on and see how it goes. Righty, first test fit. Well, that actually goes on that pretty good. Fitted for the first time, just got some straps holding on for the time being. Not sure how I'm going to attach this, but I do like the fact that I can remove it and pull it off and see what's going on. The foam is sealing it around the corners and the edges. I mean, I think it's going to work. I also tapered this edge here to kind of, I don't know, get the air flowing maybe easier that way rather than having a hard 90 just there. So maybe this furthest one kind of bounces off that wall and pushes that way. I'm no scientist, but it sounds pretty legit. Alright, this is by far the scariest bit. Trying to figure out where to put this vent into here. Or does that look weird? Is that too high? Alright, change of plan. We're going in the corner. Literally in the perfect spot. I can actually grab the pipe. There she is. Pretty much finished. Isn't that the weirdest thing you've ever seen? Back in with the shelves. Let's have a quick chat about what cable size I'll be using to feed my air conditioner. Now the cable size that came with the AC unit is 10mm, which converts to 8 AWG. So a bit of a size reference, this is the 8 that came with the unit, and this is the 4 that I'll be using, and there is a humongous difference in size. So let's quickly figure out how many amps this air conditioner pulls. So it's 600 watts divided by 12 volts is 50 amps. Now that's 50 amps running on full. For some reason it came with a 60 amp fuse, so we're going to roll with 60 amps just in case. Alright, looking at this table here, we can see the 8 AWG that came with the air conditioner and the 4 AWG that I bought instead. So if we're going off the 50 amps or 60 amps, even at 50 amps, the original cable can only run 8 foot, which is way too short. But if we go 60 amps, even the 6 AWG can only go 10 foot. And with mine being 15 foot, that's why I've decided to go 4 AWG, so we can make that 16 foot with only a 3% voltage drop. So that plus that equals that. So why did I think this cable was too small in the first place? Well, one, I'm an electrician, and two, it says in the instructions to turn the unit off every 5 hours to let the cable cool down. And that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Run this, there's a chance that after 5 hours it might catch on fire, but to be safe, I'm going with the big dog. So my new cable is going to come out of the distribution block at the top here. I'm going to put an inline fuse holder. It's going to come down here, through here. My fridge is behind here, so over my fridge, under my bench seat, under here to the controller, which is right there behind the wall. Cables come out of that hole, behind there, across here, through here, under the seat, out under there, across, up over the fridge, into this cabinet. Drill a fresh hole, comes out of here, a positive, into this fuse holder, the negative or the ground, up here. It's going to go into the distribution block. Then the active, the positive, comes out of the distribution block into the top of the fuse holder. Pop a 60 amp fuse in. Done. Alright, let's turn it on. See what happens. Heard a beep. Alrighty, time to vacuum it. Make sure we've got no leaks in our lines, and then fill it with Freon. And we'll see if it blows cold. Hooked up the pressure lines. top of the compressor. Let's vacuum it. We're going to vacuum it for roughly half an hour. Oh, not too loud. As you can see, both gauges are at -30. So we'll vacuum for half an hour, turn the vacuum off and wait and see if it holds at -30 for another half an hour. If it does, we've got no leaks and we will build the system. Alright, it's been half an hour. They're both at -30. We'll close these off. Just keeps the pressure inside. This system takes 750 grams of refrigerant. So we'll chuck in 2 of these bad boys. Alrighty, here we go. Got our refrigerant. Just going to purge the line. There we go. Alright. Now we're only going to open the low pressure side. We can watch the refrigerant go through here. Right, this is on full ball. Actually pretty quiet. Alright, inside now we are about 5 degrees and dropping. 4. Wow, it's really getting down there. It's about 42.8 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, pretty cold. Just going to make a quick little splash guard that goes in here. The rear tyres here, the mud flap is a little bit short. I don't want water shooting straight on this, so I'm going to use the lid that it came with to build a little splash guard to protect it. There's the finished splash protector. This goes in front of the control unit. Silicone in the corner. Also wrapped some of the piping in foam insulation just to keep it from vibrating a hole through it, away from sharp corners, all that kind of stuff. Looks pretty good. Alright, so I've got everything turned off in the ambulance. Let's turn on the AC and see how many amps it pulls and how many watts it uses. About 550 on startup. It's kind of steadied out now to about 380 watts. Compressor's still on full and the fan's on full. We can get about 9 hours, 18 minutes at 94%. That's plenty, with no solar on either. So everything works great, no complaints, except for one thing. The remote doesn't work inside the vehicle because, well, I guess it's inside a big metal box. So we are going to extend the cables on the back of here. Has some power cables and a sensor cable. I'm going to extend these and run this controller to the inside compartment and mount it on the wall under the chair. Just made a quick set of leads to extend the little panel, not color coordinated, just so it can be removed if for some reason it doesn't work. Let's test it out. So run those cables across there, up through here, and there's the control which goes through under that seat inside. And on the inside, we have the controller just down here. Alright, just popped it on eco mode. It's still pulling 630 watts. Temperature's down to 3.7 degrees, which is 38.5 degrees Fahrenheit. I just want to wrap this video up with the last addition to the system, which is, this is the backing of the original red case that it came in. I sprayed it black, put some gutter mesh on it, pop riveted it on, and I put this under to protect the condenser. There she is, completely finished. We have a rock guard, and that's it. Pop this off. Just made this weird looking hose with an adapter, plumbing adapter, that goes in there. This can go anywhere in the ambulance, but mainly for when the bed comes down, so you can have air conditioning directly on you. Alrighty, let's test it out. Hi guys, thanks for watching. I know that was a pretty weird video. I don't expect anyone else to ever do that, but I hope it entertained you. It was a bit of a headache, but I think the Samulance deserved it. So please like and subscribe if you liked it. If you didn't like it, leave a comment, anything you want to comment. But yeah, I appreciate you watching, and I will leave you with a little montage of everything working. Thanks. See you soon.